the biggest key I will give with social media is if you can provide value, you're going to win. You're going to do good. So everybody is looking for some sort of value from a post. Or, it's a lot of storytelling. Storytelling content has been the big shift this summer, I would say.
Hello, friends. This is Susan Shull, your host for the Clean Heart Club podcast. I'm a farm wife, mom, Grammy, holy yoga teacher, and Christian life coach. Clean Heart Club is the place for you if you want to learn to live in abundance and walk in freedom to be 100% your true self. I can't wait to share with you guided meditations and sacred story interviews with some of my favorite people. Wherever you are on your path, I'm excited to join hands as we allow our loving Heavenly Father to clean up our hearts and we start living the adventure of our lives with joy and gratitude. This is going to be fun. Hello, Clean Heart Club listeners. I'm so excited to be back with you today. We're taking a little bit different spin than we normally do. I'm going to be talking today to a girl that I watched grow up, but I never had Whitney in school. So
No.
somewhere along the line, we missed each other there. But anyway, I'm going to be introducing you to a young mover and shaker in the social media world, Whitney Zumbahlen. I know Whitney because she grew up in our community and our families are connected, but I'm so excited to get to know her personally and for you guys to just get a glimpse of how young people are moving about in the world today. So Whitney, welcome to the Clean Heart Club podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This is my first podcast presence, so
Yay!
it's exciting.
I love having new podcast people on my podcast because who
Mhm.
knows what we just never know who might listen to this and how your saying yes to this you could look back on this someday and see, oh, that yes was so important. I've seen that in my own life. Our
Yeah.
yeses are so important. So thank you for saying yes. Would you kind of give the listeners just a little intro into you?
Yeah, of course. So, like Susan said, my name is Whitney, and I'm 22 years old, and I'm from Newton, Illinois, small town, of course, in southern Illinois. And I've grown up on my family farm. Still live at my parents' house. It's a good way to save money, right? So still doing that. And I guess I'll just start kind of with high school and how I've gotten to where I am today. So
Yes, please do.
in high school, I was able to join a business class called CEO, which kind of opened a lot of doors for me in that aspect. So before that, I had no idea what I wanted to go into college for or do with my life, and that class was able to show me the opportunities among business, and there's so many different routes and different things you can do in the business world. So that is what led me into going to college for business. Went into originally business management, but an advisor told me that management is something that you kind of learn as you go, and either people have the trait or they don't in terms of managing people. And so she recommended to me to go maybe into marketing, just a different route. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, okay, whatever. So that's what I ended up going to college for my undergrad. And I did that in 3 years. And then I went on to get my master degree. After that, just a master in business administration. Because I knew if I stopped going to college, I would never go back. So I wanted to get that degree just in case I needed it in the future. I didn't want there to be a cap on any sort of position that I wanted or anything like that. So ended up doing that, and I just graduated this past May, and then now I'm working full time for myself. So I guess in the midst of all those college years, I had a business owner reach out to me asking to manage their social media account. And I've always posted, on my personal pages for fun. I had a fitness account for a little while. And so I thought, oh yeah, like I know how to do this for the most part. It's definitely a lot different for a business, but I thought this is a great way to learn. It was a great way to make some money in college while going to class, very flexible. So I started doing that. And then in the midst of those few months that I just started with that business, I had three more business owners reach out to me to start doing their marketing. And I was like, wow, okay. And I was like, yeah, why not? Right. And I was like, this is obviously a need in the area because they're all local businesses. So I started doing that. Once again, still in my head that it was just kind of some side money to get me through college and pay for some things. But then my master's degree rolled around. I was going to class, and it was about February of this year. And I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I either need to apply for jobs, or I have already started this, little side hobby, side business, part time. So I could always just take that full time if I wanted to. And one thing about me is I had realized and almost always knew that I didn't just want to jump into a 9 to 5 office job right out of college. I wanted to try and do something more fulfilling just because I had had some experiences through internships and whatnot. And I just realized that I didn't really want to go to the same desk with the same people every day right off the bat. I wanted something different. So that's what kind of led me to make that decision of, why don't I give this a shot? Because I've already built it to this. If I didn't do it now, it was never going to happen. And I'm blessed to be able to live at home still, and save money that way. My parents are very, very supportive of me doing this. So yeah, come May, I decided to go full force with this, and I've got up to, I lose track. I really need to sit down and figure out how many clients I have. I think I have 8 now that I work with, 8 different
Wow.
businesses, and I'm looking to onboard. I would like to get to 12 to 14. Almost, I guess double that would be wonderful by this coming January. I would like to have 12 or 14, and then next summer, let's say, I think having 20 businesses that I work with would be fantastic. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of goals. Yeah. So do you want me to
Well,
dive into like
well,
what I do, or how deep you want me to go?
let's stop a second and celebrate
Yeah.
the fact that you're 22
Yeah.
with a bachelor's and an MBA.
hmm
Where did you get that work ethic? Because a lot of people cannot say that.
Right. No, I definitely think my parents instilled that from me day one for sure. I've always been super involved in sports, extracurricular activities, and those definitely taught me, how to work hard, because that's not something that's mandatory of kids to do, or something you have to do. It's a choice to show up every single day and put in the work. And when it comes to school, like I'm not a huge fan of going to class, I'll be honest. And so I knew that I wanted to be done as quickly as I could. So, I was able to take advantage of, first off, the CEO class that I did in high school. It gave me 12 credit hours going into college. So I was already a sophomore. So that was very, very helpful. And then I took 2 summer classes each summer. There was also classes you could take over winter break that were like a fast pass type class. So I was always taking advantage of that type of stuff because I knew I didn't really want to mess around. I still, like I said, I had no idea that this is where I would end up, but I just knew that school wasn't something I wanted to do. But yeah, definitely my parents instilled that work ethic in me and taught me the importance of putting in that hard work.
I'm curious, of course, since we lived on a farm and raised 3 farm kids, how
Yes.
did your growing up on a farm contribute to your entrepreneurial spirit
Right.
and hard work? I mean, because your dad,
hmm
your folks have a farm,
Correct.
so
Yeah.
you've seen the struggles and the joys of owning your own business.
Definitely, definitely. My dad, he's had kind of taken over the family farm, and he has his brother who does it with him. But my mom always tells me that when they first started, where because his mom and dad had twelve kids. So very big family. And so when he took over that farm, back in the day, like it was just enough to get them by to the next month. I mean, they weren't necessarily, these big successful farmers by no means. So my dad and his brother really took that farm and turned it around and made it to what it is today. And yeah, just it was growing up with him. He was always working. And I call him retired now. But we milked cows. So that was, every morning, every evening you had to be there. So vacations for our family was not really a thing, unless we could get, a hired hand to come in and do that. But he was just always such a hard worker. But that let my mom, be a stay-at-home mom for us and be able to, take us to do sports activities. And I was also in 4-H, which 4-H is one of the greatest things I've ever done, because it's tied to agriculture, tied to the farm life, but it teaches you responsibility on how to take care of an animal, how to show an animal. I mean, you learn the concept of money at a very young age because you sell your animal at auction. So it's just you really learn the sense of time and money through 4-H and just what hard work is. But in terms of entrepreneurship, honestly, I didn't necessarily know I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I never really thought of my dad as an entrepreneur growing up. I just thought of him as a farmer. But now looking at it, I can see all the back end things that go into it.
Farming is big business.
It is. And there's so much that goes into it, that you don't even realize. But I definitely think his work ethic is what instilled into me and just my experiences through CEO and small, jobs or businesses that I've started and pursued throughout my high school career and college career is what has turned me into an entrepreneur for sure. But
Your dad has, and your dad and mom haven't been afraid to try something new and outside the box.
correct.
Tell us a little bit about, I'm thinking about the
The shrimp.
shrimp. Yes.
Yes. So, and that was
What did
actually,
you learn from that?
yeah, no. So my parents started that when I think it was the year I was born, I believe, was their first year doing that. So like 2003.
So
And
tell the listeners what we're talking about because they won't
of
know.
course, of course, yes. So my parents had started a freshwater shrimp business when I was just a baby. So I can kind of break down the process. So essentially, every June, we would travel down to southern Illinois, and almost to Kentucky. And we would go to these growers who had these shrimp, and they were just, I mean, so tiny. And they got them from Texas, brought them in, and they had them in swimming pools, actually. And so we would go down to their house. It was literally in their basement, these pools of shrimp. And so we would grab them from there, and we would bring them back to our farm. And to do that, these shrimp require oxygen levels in the water. So we had to set up oxygen tanks, and it was a whole process. You only had so much time before your oxygen tanks ran out to get them home. It was a 3-hour drive. So it was quite the process of figuring out, how long can we travel with these. But we brought them back to the farm. We have a 1 acre pond and a half-acre pond on our property, and we would fill both of those up with the freshwater shrimp. And once again, oxygen system set up. You have to feed them every evening, from June to about October. It was usually like the first frost is when you would harvest the shrimp. So essentially, in the corner of each pond, we have a like a pipe or a plug, I guess. And so you would pull the plug and your whole pond would drain. And
Oh
we
my
have a
gosh, you
whole
drained it
system.
every time.
Yes, yep, drained it every year. And the pond would drain and all the shrimp would come out, and we had a whole net system set up. And then we would take them and process them on our farm. Essentially, you just remove the heads and then you put them in tubs of ice. And we used to have, like, it was a big ordeal on our farm, a big event. So the whole public, I mean, people would travel an hour to come to our farm and get this shrimp fresh. So we would put ice on it and they would get the tub right there. It was never froze. It was fresh out of the pond from maybe an hour before that. So that's how they used to run it, and it was such a big fun event as a kid, and I would always sell pumpkins or something, had my little side business, of course. And yeah, so we did that, but then my dad, he actually had an accident on the farm where a cow ran him over and he had to have surgery, all the things. It's a typical thing on the farm. And so that ended up that year we stopped doing the shrimp just because he was recovering from surgery, and it's a lot of work. And so then the next year was when I was in that business class for CEO. And so that was actually my individual business. I brought back our shrimp,
I did
freshwater
not
shrimp.
know that, Whitney.
Yep, yep. So that was my business. So I did the whole process, and of course, Dad helped me. But and it was nice because we already had kind of the setup. We had to fix a few things because 2 years of it sitting doing nothing. But yeah, that was my business. So yeah,
So you really have grown up in
yes,
this business environment, whether you were aware of it happening or not. Okay,
yes.
so I'm fascinated by what you're doing now, and well, my granddaughters actually started a TikTok account for me because they would
Okay.
send me things and I would want to watch them.
Mhm.
So I see your videos mainly on TikTok. Tell us what you're doing now.
Mhm. So right now, up until this point, I've been what I would consider myself a freelance digital marketer. And this is because I'm working for myself, by myself, essentially running a business, and it's just me. And so, like I said, I've got about 7 or 8 clients, I think, that I manage their social media accounts for. That's my primary service up until this point, but I'm at this point of growth that I'm looking to take on over this next year. But up until this point, it's been a lot of social media management, social media marketing. My biggest, I guess, service or like the thing I'm best at is creating reels and TikToks, because video content, it performs much more than a photo post. So that's kind of what I've focused on implementing into these businesses. So yeah, that's essentially what I do. It's usually, like a monthly retainer for these businesses, and I provide them with so many videos a month, or, it's a very different for each business, because one thing I pride myself on is not having this cookie cutter strategy, because I work with businesses across all different industries. A lot of people in my space will pick an industry that they serve, but I've decided to not do that. Number one, because I like working with different industries. It keeps things fresh, it keeps things exciting. I'm always having to learn new things. And then number two, I've decided that my niche would be local businesses. So ideally, that's going to be my primary target market, is any local service-based business or product business, whatever it may be, in our area or in like the southern half of Illinois. So right now, I've just focused on social media. My primary platforms are Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But then I also am looking to work with some independent contractors and hire a couple people to, keep growing the social media, but also offer like branding and graphic design, offer website management, offer paid ads management, Google management, things like that. Almost a full service digital marketing agency is kind of where I'm headed. So that's what I do so far. But yeah, in terms of platforms, I don't create as much myself. Like I actually have not marketed my business at all. That's what I'm working on right now. I get so caught up in marketing everybody else, I forget about myself. But I'm actually working with someone to get, my branding and my assets together, and then we're going to start actually making content for my business next week. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's exciting.
This episode of the Clean Heart Club podcast is brought to you by my book, Hello You, Being Yourself in a World That Wants You to Be Everyone Else. If you've been loving these faith-filled conversations, I think you'll love the book too. It's an invitation to come home to yourself and to God. And you can find it now on Amazon. Find the link in the show notes. Thanks, friends.
For the people who don't know, is it okay if I talk about one of the businesses
Yes,
that I've seen you? Okay.
of course.
So we have is it two drive-in theaters in our we have a drive-in theater in our county, and I think there's
Yes.
only maybe two in the state of Illinois, or not very
There's
many.
yeah, there's not very many. Actually, Illinois does have one the most drive-in theaters as far as
Oh,
I'm concerned
really?
compared
Okay.
to
But it's
every
it's
other state.
unusual.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's definitely under 10. Well, yeah, I would. There's one over by St. Louis, like Belleville area, and then there's maybe two up by Chicago. There's one in Springfield or near Springfield. So there's
Yeah.
a handful in Illinois, but
Yes.
yeah, very
Well, it's
limited.
a unique experience
It
to
is. It
go to the
is.
drive-in theater. And that's when I first started noticing what you were doing, because
Mhm.
I saw reels from the drive-in. And
Yes.
I could not believe when I clicked on one of the videos and saw how many people had viewed that video
Yeah.
and how many followers
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
were. And then tell me about that.
Yeah, so that is actually the first business I started with. I actually worked at the drive-in when I was like 16, I think. And I've always kind of known Tammy, the owner, growing up. And she reached out to me. Well, we started working a little bit the summer of 2023, just making videos for fun, not really taking it too seriously. And then that fall, she's like, I think this is a big opportunity for us, and I think we need to implement on this. So start of like 2024 is when I really started hitting on the drive-ins page. And from January to in 2024 to June, I don't even remember those stats at this point, but that's when we first had our probably like 5 videos hit over 1 million views on TikTok. And that, yeah, in that first 6 months, which, like I said, I had no prior experience to this.
Right.
And
But you're
so,
so creative and you're so
yes,
cute.
thank you. Thank
And you
you. Yeah.
and you can tell you bring out people, you can tell people are having fun.
Yes, yes. That is the whole point of social media. It's like it is marketing, but it's not supposed to be super serious. I mean, there are points and times in certain industries that you take a more serious approach than others, but for a drive-in, we knew that we just wanted to represent a lifestyle and an experience through our social media. That was like our biggest strategy, is just showing people like what it's like to be at the drive-in and make them want to get in their car and drive to the drive-in. So that was always our biggest focus, or at least my biggest focus. But yeah, we were able to, in a year, I think we gained 40,000 plus followers on TikTok, and I took the Facebook page from like 20,000 followers to over 70,000 followers.
I did not even know that.
Yes, and then from actually in 2025 this year, from January to March, we had over like 11 million views on just the Facebook page, which is funny because January, February, March, the drive-in isn't even open. And we had contemplated just not even posting on social media during that time because why does anybody want to see drive-in theater content in January? But that was when we saw the most views and the most growth in our accounts. But I think it was a great tactic to keep posting, and that's why a lot of seasonal businesses will come to me and say, "Oh, I only want to post, when we're open, maybe March through October." And I'm like, you're going to miss out on a big opportunity, just because I think when it's winter in Illinois, people are looking for maybe some summer content here and there, throwbacks to the drive-in, or
Help
maybe
us
some
remember summer's coming.
yes, and just like even just with the movie industry especially, you can still market, movies that you're going to show this coming year, or there's just a lot of opportunities. You just have to be creative with it.
And it's obviously translated into customers because from what I understand, well, I'm not a big fan. I don't go to the drive-in a lot because I like to
Mhm.
go to bed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
I get
yeah,
up
it's a
super
late.
early. But we did go take our granddaughters, and I was told if it's a popular movie, you need to be there 2 hours ahead to get a
Yes.
spot.
Yes, and that's one thing was our goal, obviously, is just to increase the business there because the drive-in was really like doing very well up until about 2019, and that's when COVID happened. And not necessarily COVID was the issue for the drive-in, but it was a big issue for the movie industry. And a lot of movies were put on hold or, not produced, and that really affected her business. And since like that 2020 year up until, 2023, she had been struggling to get, customers back because the movie industry just kind of fell off the face of the earth, honestly. And then, of course, you have, Netflix coming out. You've got all these different streaming platforms. It's a lot easier for people to watch at home. And so we knew that we had to make this a unique experience, and kind of bring back the nostalgic of oh, summer when you were a kid and you always went to the drive-in. Because when I was a kid, I think, back in like 2008 or 10, I was always at the drive-in,
Like
probably
in the
4 times.
olden days.
Yeah, right. And so that was a lot. I mean, so yeah, that's kind of what we wanted to bring back. And from 2023, granted, you do have to take into consideration, what movies come out each year in terms of your sales. If you have a year where 5 very popular movies come out, your sales are going to be much higher than a year that maybe only 1 or 2 come out, right? But in 2023, we were able to increase sales in 2024 by 94%.
Oh my word.
Was just, yeah, and you could see it too, because like I'd said, I'd worked with the drive-in a little bit in 2023, and it was just kind of a slow pace. There was like one big movie, I think it was Barbie. But then the next year there were, it was Twisters, and I think there were a couple kids movies that were really popular, but the traffic to the drive-in significantly increased from just, and we think it's pretty clear that social media has a hand in that. Obviously, like I said, movies coming out, that's a big player in that too, but I think the social media definitely helped with that.
And just a little sidebar I'll throw in here. My first ever date with Brad Shull was at the drive-in.
Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah,
a
that
perfect first date place. That's a lot of
we
the
didn't call it
content.
a date, but
Right,
it
right,
was a
yeah.
double date with somebody who couldn't go on a date without a double
Oh,
date. So we just
gotcha.
gave it up for the team,
Yeah.
and that's when my little heart started going pitter patter for him.
There you go. There you go.
And
That's awesome.
that's when we had to take the thing off of the post and put it
Mm-hmm.
on the window.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you the movie that was playing, but I do know that we never even turned on the volume. We just chit chatted the whole time.
Yes. Yep. No, it's changed so much now. Everybody's always commenting and messaging, will you bring back the speakers on the poles? Because that's not a thing anymore because it's streamed through radio. And yeah, it's funny how people want that even more nostalgic feel
Yeah,
at
we're
the
looking for a
drive-in.
simpler
So,
time, I guess. So
yeah.
anyway, there's no denying that things have changed in the marketing world and the all that. How do you
Right.
keep up with the trends and the algorithms and
Yeah.
all that
Oh my
stuff?
gosh. Yeah. And you made that face. That's the same face I make when I think about it. It is always changing so much. And one thing I've noticed, like, that is the hardest thing about my job is keeping up with the changing times because from my previous experiences working or interning in marketing departments, a lot of them are still marketing like it's 2012. And that I really do feel like is why maybe they're not seeing the results that they want, or a lot of people undermine marketing. But I think that's the issue is people don't know how to market. It's becoming such a different ball game than what it used to be, even just 5 years ago. Before like 2020 is really when TikTok became a thing. It was always an app, but that's when it blew up was during COVID because nobody had anything to do, so they're scrolling on their phone, and so that is really what changed the game there. But yeah, in terms of keeping up with it, that's like my biggest challenge. You know, as a business owner, working in your business and working on your business, it's two very different things, and it's so hard to do
Mhm.
both. I've gotten to the point where this year I've solely been working in my business, and I realized that I'm not going to grow if I continue doing that. I have to work on the business. So that's kind of the transformation I'm making right now. It's hard to kind of step back, of course, but I know it's going to be worth it in the end. But yeah, just honestly, it's just doing a lot of research and a lot of scrolling on social media. It's funny, I'll be in the living room just scrolling on my phone, on Instagram or TikTok, and dad's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm working." And he's like, "It looks like you're scrolling on TikTok." I said, "Nope, but I'm working. I'm doing my research, finding trends, seeing what, like this." past year, a big shift has been made towards, it used to be the quantity of content you pushed out. You wanted to be posting once a day, twice a day, three times a day, as much as you possibly could. Didn't really matter about the quality. It has definitely shifted in the last year towards more quality content. Maybe you only post a few times a week, but these posts are very hard hitting, value providing, storytelling posts that are just super captivating and high quality. So that's been a huge shift. But like I said, that happened in 6 months. I noticed that from January to about the March period, I was like, oh, I'm noticing this shift towards people aren't just using their iPhone anymore. They're using videography cameras and they're paying videographers to produce some almost commercial style content. So it's getting very competitive. It's a very competitive landscape because everybody is doing it.
I
Uh,
actually, I actually, excuse me for interrupting you, but I
yeah,
actually noticed that this morning when
yeah,
I try to really contain the time that I'm spending scrolling. I'm
yes.
learning. Anyway, I noticed, I think it was Lisa Turkhurst posted an Instagram carousel, I think it was, is what you
Uh-huh.
call it.
Yep.
And I really appreciate the work that she has put out into the world. And so I clicked through it and I thought, these don't look like videos that were taken with her phone. They looked professional.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is a big shift. And honestly, you can get that same effect with an iPhone. You have to know how to use it though. But social media a couple years ago used to just be taking out your phone and filming yourself talking, or just like a day in the life film, like what's happening today, what am I up to? More of like a vlog style, but now it is definitely transformed into the biggest key I will give with social media is if you can provide value, you're going to win. You're going to do good. So everybody is looking for some sort of value from a post. Or, it's a lot of storytelling. Storytelling content has been the big shift this summer, I would say. So not only, videoing a day in the life of, a 22-year-old entrepreneur, instead of just saying that and being like, oh, I went to the gym, then I worked on this, then I worked on that, then I had dinner, and then it was time to wrap up. You instead share a perspective or maybe a challenge that you're facing, or the hardest thing about being a 22-year-old entrepreneur, or the most exciting thing, telling a story and adding context to it. That is what people look for on social media today.
Do you think that that has something to do with the increase in AI? I mean, we can all find fake stuff.
Yeah, yeah, AI scares me to death. And not because, at first I was like, oh, this is going to replace me. This is going to replace my
Mm.
job. But AI could never replace a human brain. Never. I mean, I know humans are the ones that even design AI, right? But it could never replace the emotional connection that you can get with human content versus AI content. So that is something I honestly predict. I don't know when, but I think there is going to be a shift towards businesses paying a premium for a person to do their marketing versus AI, because it's going to get so stagnant and so like rinse and repeat with AI. I think they're going to pay premium price for, having that human connection, and
And
having
the
that human.
creativity of the human brain
Yes,
that God
yes,
designed.
yes, exactly, exactly. But AI is useful. I mean, I would encourage everybody to use it. But one thing I also notice a lot of people on social media is they use AI, they're letting AI replace them. So in terms
I
of
can
like writing,
see it.
yeah, it is so obvious for especially someone like me who is scrolling and reading all of these captions. I can just tell people are typing in, write a caption for this post, and it is copy, paste, and they put it in there. And it's just not even how a human would communicate. And there's just a lot of telltale signs that AI is used, and people are picking up on that. At first, you could get by with it, and now people are starting to pick up on it, and they're like, don't use Chat GPT for your captions, or I will unfollow you. Like that's how people are
Mm.
getting. So, yeah.
I like to use it for like formatting because
Yes.
I'm not a good formatter,
Mm-hmm.
but I like to write my stuff and then have
Yes. No, it is.
ChatGPT format it.
It is very useful. And then in terms of like thinking of topics, obviously a lot of the topics that like if I look up, if I'm trying to come up with content ideas for this month for the smoothie shop that I work with, and maybe I'm having like a mental block and I'm like, man, I just need something like out of the box or creative. I will use AI and ask it to give me, 30 or 50 content ideas for a local smoothie shop. Granted, some of them are going to be generic, some of them are going to be really out of the box to where it's like nobody would ever come up with that. But once in a while, you will have a blip that it gives you that's like, oh, like that's a great idea. Let's see how I can
Yes.
implement that. I'm not going to
Can you-
ask ChatGPT to make a video for me, but how
Right.
can I implement that idea? So I use it a lot for that. If I am stuck on a caption, I will use it because there AI now you can put in personas and have it speak in a certain language, in a certain tone. And so it knows, like I have for all of my businesses, for example, I have a persona for each of them. So that way, when I say write a caption, it writes it in the tone that I told it to use. I gave it, access to its website, everything. So that way it knows the business. But I never just copy and paste. I always am just like taking bits and pieces or, things like that.
Uh-huh. Oh gosh. I think we should go back to your TikTok or your post that went viral
Yeah.
because some people might not understand what that maybe I don't even understand what it means.
Yeah, no, and the virality is crazy. So that was my first experience with dealing with that many views, that many likes, that many comments, was with the drive-in.
How
And
did you handle
honestly,
that?
it was a challenge because I mean I'll be totally honest, like we had some feedback from people in Chicago specifically. We would just post a fun drive-in video in Southern Illinois, come visit, located here, price is this. Like we would just make like a fun little video, and we would have people in Chicago commenting that we were a sundown town, and that which is in terms of being racist or things like that, saying that they would never go there after dark. And I'm like, this was just a fun little wholesome video. And we would get, I mean, thousands of comments like that on some videos because they had 7 million views on these videos. And so,
So people brought their prejudice into
correct, correct. And there was no controlling it. So you can completely turn off comments on TikTok. And so that was something we considered. But you also had people in there commenting, like, oh, like, where is this? Or I've been here. This is an amazing place. Or, oh, that was where my first date was. Or I watched this movie in like 1980 there. I mean, you had the fun comments as well. And we didn't want to limit that. So you can censor words, but some of them, like, they weren't necessarily saying the word racist, but sundown town. I didn't know what that meant until it was in the comments. I'm looking up, what does this mean? And then I'm like, oh my God. And so, yeah, that was stuff we had to handle, but it's one of those things where when you get to that level of virality, there is really no controlling it, because I mean there was 50,000 plus comments on a post, and I'm not scrolling through all of those, and they just keep coming in. So you just almost have to ignore them, and that's what a lot of creators will say. Ignoring them is your best bet. Like I said, you can filter some words out, like cuss words and different things like that. But yeah, just ignoring them and paying attention to the positive ones. But you will run into that. So that was something we had to handle. But in terms of just, you know, virality is really important and it's really cool. But once you do it once, I mean, it's no longer cool. Like I remember I got my first million views. I was like, oh my gosh, I am the coolest person in the world right now. But then months later we had like five of those. And at a point you just become like unfazed by it. Like I was just like, oh, my post only got 1.2 million views. Like my last one did better. And so it's almost gets to the point where you're disappointed in that many views. And so you have to take a step back and be like, envision 1.2 million people in front of you, and then you're like, wow. I always see posts of groups of people like, this is 10,000 people, this is 20,000, and it's a lot of people. So yeah, that's
It makes you
something.
realize how many people there are in the world.
Yes, yes, yes. And then go ahead.
I was going to say, I follow this guy on TikTok, and he's now showing up on my Instagram too, that is detransitioning, which
Okay.
we don't need to get into that. But his account has, people are fascinated by it.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a comment, just an encouraging, kind comment on one of his posts. And I kept getting like notifications of people liking my comment.
Mm-hmm.
And it got up like close to 300 likes on my comment. And it made me so nervous. I
Yeah.
deleted it.
That's funny. Yeah. No, I always tell myself usually the people who are saying any sort of negative things are the ones that have nothing better to do. I mean, like on a positive video, right? And you say, it's a positive video. Who is commenting that stuff? I mean, it's just, you just can't take it personally. Honestly, it's
I
just, you
mean,
got to,
nobody made any bad comments on my kind comment, but
that's good.
there were lots of ugly things being said. And I thought,
Mhm.
I know this makes me nervous.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's different, like, personally, it's really not too big of a deal, but when you're dealing with businesses, sometimes it can be kind of a big deal because, if you're posting, let's say, a recipe for this smoothie that you have at your shop, and everyone's like, "Oh, I tried this, it was terrible." Like, you're gonna get that, right? And so it's like you gotta kind of be aware, or like for the drive-in, we made a video of us making popcorn one time, and it wasn't that we weren't even open. It was on a random Tuesday during the week, and we didn't have gloves on our hands because we were just making it for the video. And oh, the people ate us alive in the comments on that. And so that's just one of those things where you have to be like, the sole purpose of this was just for the video. We are not serving it to customers. But you have to be careful because you can run into stuff like that as well with a business.
mm,
So
interesting,
it's a
interesting.
crazy atmosphere to be in for sure. But
So you brought up, oh my gosh, it's almost been an hour already.
you're good. You're good. I just got
What's
know what to
it,
talk about
what's it
it.
like being a 22-year-old business owner?
It it is hard. I'm not here to like glamorize entrepreneurship by no means. I mean, it's so exciting, it's so fulfilling, like, and you have to have a passion for it. But I will say it's one of the hardest things I've ever done. And especially this business for sure. I've ran some small businesses. I've sold activewear independently. I've, had the shrimp business. I've done a lot of different things, but this is definitely the hardest one. Reason being because of the ever-changing atmosphere of marketing, but also the fact that I'm dealing with real businesses who want to see real results. And that is just, there's a stress level that comes with that, right?
Mm.
But really the hardest thing I've been dealing with personally is just the balance of working in your business and working on your business. And that's something they don't teach you in college. Like I went to college, and from my perspective, college teaches you how to be an employee. It does not teach you how to be a business owner or an
Oh,
entrepreneur at all.
fascinating.
That
So
that is
how are you learning how to be a business owner?
trial and error, and that's honestly, I think, how it's always been done. It's one of those things you have to be comfortable with failure, because and you have to look at it as failure. Maybe it's not failure; it's turning in a different direction, or it's pivoting. That's the mindset you have to
Yes.
have.
And what we say in the world that I'm in with coaching people is you're either learning
Yes,
or succeeding. It's there's failure
exactly.
is it's not really part of it because
Exactly. Yeah, and that's like one thing with entrepreneurship or like starting a business especially. You have to tell yourself that you're not going to fail because probably like a month or two ago, I was at a point where I'm like, what if this doesn't work though? Like, what if I can't get any more clients? Or, you start like second guessing yourself and thinking like, maybe I'm not, this isn't worth the money that these customers are paying me to do this for them. But I just realized like you have to believe in it or nobody else will. So if you cannot believe in it, you won't be able to continue because if you don't believe in it, nobody's going to believe in it for you. So yeah, just you have to almost be able to tell yourself like this will not fail. No exceptions. I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean you can't make pivots, right? Like maybe I go from a social media agency to an AI consulting agency one day. You know, there's pivots that you can make without considered, failure by no means, but you have to be willing to make changes, adapt. But yeah, failure is not an option.
Okay, so let's take 1 minute here.
Hmm.
And I want you to imagine that we're 10 years down the road. You're 32. You've been doing your thing for 10 more years.
Hmm.
What will feel like success?
That is the exact question I've been asking me for a
Oh
month.
my
And
goodness.
yes, and it's funny because I originally, like as of a year ago, I was someone who wanted multiple streams of income. I didn't want to just like have one stream of income. So I've messed with like different sales gigs online virtually this past like few months. But then I've also realized like I'm not focusing enough on my business. It's a very hard balance, but one thing that my coaches for the sales training asked me, they're like, "What is success to you?" And I couldn't tell them. I was like, I mean, I think it's this, but I'm like, I don't know an exact point of success, but I've really been thinking about it recently, and I am a very money driven individual. Like that is something I've always, been focused on, but recently I've realized like that is not the end goal. I mean, that's not everything. Money isn't everything, and I've just realized like my end goal is to be able to provide for my family. Like at that point in my life when I'm 32, I want to be able to provide for my family in a really positive and helpful way, but at the same point, I want to be present. I don't want to be somebody who's always chasing growth and money in my business and forget what really matters, which is family, spending time with the ones you love. Because at the end of the day, like I just think about, when I'm on my deathbed one day, like what am I going to be thinking about? And it's your family and your life experiences that you got to have and just all of those things. So end goal for me is just to really be able to provide for my family and for myself, but also being able to make a difference in people's lives. Like doing podcasts like this, for example, I love this because I'm able to share with people my experiences and maybe they're feeling the same way, or I was able to talk to the CEO class last week and maybe help them through college. Things like that is also really important to me as well.
Mm,
So
so
yeah.
good. So good. Okay,
Yeah.
Whitney, if somebody, uh, we'll put all your contact info in the show notes,
Yeah.
but if somebody is like, oh, I want to hire this girl, how would they go about that?
Yeah, so essentially, I do everything right now through email or my personal phone number. I am on, like I said, I have not started. I haven't posted myself at all, but it's just Whitney Zumbahlen, my personal pages on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn as well. But then I am starting, like I said, I'm transitioning into an agency, and my name is Wit Marketing Group because there's going to be other individuals. It's not just me. So I still wanted my local name in there, but also, including a group because there's going to be a group of us working together. So Wit Marketing Group will also be on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. So you can find me there as well. Next week is when I'll start posting on there. So I'm excited for that. So yeah, people probably go to my page and they're like, there's nothing happening here. But I've just been so busy with everybody else. I'm like, okay, time to dial in.
Oh,
But yeah, and then also, people reach out to me through text or calling me, email a lot. So that's the best way to
yeah.
contact me.
Okay,
So
and we probably won't put your phone number in the show notes, but we'll
okay,
put your
okay,
email and
perfect.
your stuff and maybe you might even want to link one of your viral TikTok
Oh yeah,
something or
yeah,
others, just so people
yeah.
can see what you've done.
Right. Hmm.
Okay, Whitney, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes,
We didn't even get into the faith
I
aspect and
know.
all
I
of
know.
that. So we'll have to have you come back. And maybe
Definitely.
people will have questions and you guys could send me your questions and I'll make a list of them, then we can have you back and um ask you the questions so you could answer them. But I just want to say I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so
I
much. I
I
appreciate it.
love to see people living their dreams and experimenting and saying yes to things that when they don't know what the exact outcome is going to be, it's so good. Can I pray
Yes.
for you?
Yes, of course. Of course.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the way you've made Whitney, Father. I pray that you'll just keep this little fire burning in her, and we know that she can do great things for you, even from her parents' house, Father. I just pray that you will just guide her, direct her, fill her with your creativity, and I just pray that you'll just pour your blessings out on her. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Whitney. Okay.
Yeah.
See y'all next time. Bye.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining me today on the Clean Heart Club podcast. I hope that you were blessed and learned some things that will help you on your journey. Let's remember this truth from Psalm 28:7. The Lord is my strength and shield. I trust him with all my heart. He helps me, and my heart is filled with joy. I burst out in songs of thanksgiving. Did you know I wrote a course for you? It's called the Clean Heart Club and contains 10 video teachings about some of my favorite life coaching concepts, which are so helpful. You're also invited to come join the fun in the Clean Heart Club group on Facebook and sign up to receive my weekly newsletter of encouragement. Let's be friends. See you next time.